On June 12, 1994, a small dog led a neighbor to the brutally slashed bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald L. Goldman. Both were lying in a pool of blood near the entrance of Nicole's condo at 875 South Bundy Drive in the upscale Brentwood section of Los Angeles, California. Nicole Simpson, the recently divorced wife of football player O.J. Simpson, had her throat slashed, while Ronald Goldman, a waiter, sustained more than 30 wounds in his body.
I was walking down and I found the blood was just sprout on the walkway, and the ground was full of blood. And I turned to my wife and said, "There's dead people there."
Mark Furman was the first detective to arrive on the gruesome scene.
I've been called a couple years before to the area because of some domestic violence calls made by Nicole Simpson. There was Ford Bronco parked near the rear gate. I saw what looked like blood outside the handle and below the door. I saw a black glove just soaked with blood lying around on the path, which matched the other black glove that was beside Goldman's body. There was blood drops on the driveway, the path to the front door, and the entryway of the home, and OJ was nowhere to be found. Someone even found some bloody pair of socks in his bedroom.
Orenthal James Simpson, ex-husband of Nicole, becomes the prime suspect for the murder of Nicole Simpson. He took a trip to Chicago at night and was notified of his ex-wife's death in a hotel. He did not ask how she was killed or by who. On June 13, 1994, Simpson was called for an interview after returning from the trip. This interrogation was conducted by homicide detectives Philip Venator and Thomas Lange, the Los Angeles Police Department's chief investigators for the murders.
How did you get the injury on you?
Well, I don't know. The first time when I was in Chicago and all, but at the house, I was just running around.
How did you get in Chicago?
I broke a glass, but one of you guys had just called me and I was in the bathroom and I was just kind of went bonkers for a little bit.
Is that how you cut it?
It was cut before, but I think I just opened it again. I'm not sure.
Do you recall bleeding at all in your trunk in the Bronco?
I recall bleeding at my house, and then when I went to the Bronco, the last thing I did before I left when I was rushing was went and got my phone out of the Bronco.
So do you recall bleeding at all?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was bleeding, but it was no big deal. I bleed all the time. I play golf and stuff, so there's always something. Nicks and stuff here and there.
Shortly after an arrest for Simpson was issued, his lawyer stated that he'll return himself in the state headquarters, but Simpson thought of a better plan. A slow-speed car chase occurred down at the LA interstate. A Ford Bronco car was chased by police. O.J. Simpson lets his friend, A.C. Cowling, drive while he puts a gun in his own head. Detective Tom Lange tries to talk him out of a potential suicide.
Please, just have AC pull over and toss that gun out, and everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna be better tomorrow.
He's taking me home!
I know he's taking you home, but please toss that gun. We're going to let you go home, but please toss the gun because you're scaring everyone, okay?
I'm not going to point it at anyone!
I know you're not going to point it, but still, you're scaring them. How about this? We'll let you go home, let you pull right inside. All we see is that gun come out of the window.
I'm not going to point it at anyone!
I know, man, I know. But you're scaring them anyway.
I'm not going to point it at
After 90 minutes, the chase ends when Cowlings drove into Simpson's driveway. On Monday, June 20, O.J. was charged with the murders and was held in jail without bail. A 6-day preliminary hearing occurred, ending with Judge Kathleen Kennedy Powell ruling that there's sufficient evidence for O.J. Simpson to stand trial on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Superior Court Judge Lance Ito is assigned to the O.J. Simpson case. On July 22, 1994, Simpson attends court.
How do you plead?
100% not guilty, Your Honor.
The prosecution reveals documents that point to Simpson's long-time abuse of Nicole to the jury. Judge Lance Ito hears the defense bring arguments that question the racial biases of Mark Furman, the detective who claimed to have found a bloody glove at O.J. Simpson's home. In a tape Furman made with an interviewer, he was seen using the N-word many times. On January 24, 1995, the trial officially begins. Prosecutor Marcia Clark, along with attorney Christopher A. Darden, makes an opening statement beforehand. 2 of the area's most famous attorneys, Johnny L. Cochran and Robert L. Shapiro, along with Barry Scheck, stand behind Simpson and delivered opening statements. Denise Brown, sister of Nicole Brown, testifies that O.J. Simpson had been abusive to his ex-wife.
He got mad at Nicole. He threw her against the wall and he just grabbed her. And the only thing I remembered is he was so... His whole face, his structure changed. Everything about him changed.
Cato Kalin, OJ's friend and house guest at the time of the murder, testified that OJ was upset with Nicole at the time. The jurors were being replaced constantly due to racial discord. By May 1995, the 7th juror was dismissed by the judge and replaced with a new juror. Gary Sims, a senior criminalist, testifies that blood from the glove at Simpson's home matches Ron Goldman's blood. Sims also states that another spot in the glove appeared to be mixed with the blood from Nicole Brown Simpson. On May 17, 1995, Sims testifies that the blood found in one of O.J. Simpson's socks matches that of Nicole. However, the defense countered after the statement.
Because the blood stain has not even been noticed until 2 months after it was found. If Mr. Simpson did indeed wear the sock at the scene of the crime, the blood would not be soaked through the side. There would not be a transfer of blood of the opposite side of the sock, like what Mr. Sims stated.
The trial came down to the gloves. On June 15, O.J. was asked by Marcia Clark to put on the gloves that were found in the crime scene.
They don't fit.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
The jury hears testimony from microbiologist John Gertz, who states that Los Angeles Crime Lab is by far the most contaminated he has ever witnessed. His testimony casts doubt about the reliability of the DNA test conducted. The defense goes back to Detective Furman and plays tapes of him using racial slurs. 5 witnesses testify that they have heard him use the slur over the past 10 years.
This man who harbors a deliberate hate towards African Americans could have easily planted the glove at the scene of the murder. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Did not, could not, and would not have committed this crime.
Through September 26 to the 29th, the prosecution and defense provide closing arguments, including a controversial video played by the prosecution that depicts everything from the 911 distress call by Nicole Brown Simpson in 1989 to graphic photos of the bodies.
Everyone, weed out the smokes and mirrors of sideshow. Avoid false shows. Is Furman racist? Yes. Is he the worst LAPD ever? Yes. Should LAPD have hired him? No. In fact, do we wish there were no such person on the planet? Yes. But it would be a tragedy if you found the defendant not guilty because of the racist attitude of one police officer.
I looked back at the Constitution last night. I sent my clerk to get it for me. And I looked at the Constitution and you know what I saw? I saw some stuff in the Constitution about Ron and about Nicole. And the Constitution said that Ron and Nicole have the rights to liberty. It said they had rights to life. It said they had rights to the pursuit of happiness. It said that Nicole didn't have to stay with him if she didn't want to stay with him. That's what the Constitution said. And I looked farther. I looked in the Constitution to see if it said anything about O.J. Simpson, and you know what it said? It said he didn't have the rights to take those lives. He did not have the rights to do what he did.
And they were both telling you who did it with their hair, their clothes, their bodies, their blood. They'll tell you he did it. He did it. Mr. Simpson, Oriental Simpson, he did it. They told you in the only way they can. Will you hear them, or will you ignore their pleas for justice? Whereas Nicole said to Detective Edwards, you never do anything about him. Will you? Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the people of the state of California, because we have proven beyond a reasonable doubt, far beyond a reasonable doubt, that the defendant committed these murders, we ask you to find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree of Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown.
On October 2, 1995, the jury begins deliberations. The next day, jury returns to the verdict.
Mr. Cochran and Mr. Simpson, would you please stand and face the jury?
An estimated audience of 150 million Americans, the largest in history, was watching.
In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Oriental James Simpson, case number BA097211, we, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Oriental James Simpson, not guilty of the crime